So the other day I was at a tire shop in North Hollywood, and one of the other customers whipped out his penis. Well, all right. Now that I've gotten everyone's attention, I'd like to welcome you all. This is the first ever behind the scenes episode of The Melissa J. Show. And I should probably introduce, sitting in as my co host, this is my cat Lakshmi, also known as the Shmee. And, oh, look at her. She's so cute. Normally, I have Melissa J. Jr., who is the little stuffed dog who sits in with me as my co host for the Melissa J. Show. But Lakshmi will sometimes attack Melissa J. Jr. It's just part of the whole cats versus dogs kind of thing. They got that whole Biggie, versus Tupac rivalry going on. So Lakshmi will be sitting in for the co-hosting duties on this episode. And there's basically just two reasons why I'm doing these episodes. There's the first thing I want to do is just tell everybody what my day-to-day life is like as a transgender. When I do the Melissa J. Show, that's me as a comedian. It's not an act, though. It's not a costume. That's who I am all day, every day. And I just want to tell a couple stories about what it's like for me to go through life as a transgender. So that's the one of the two things that I want to do with these episodes. And the other reason I'm doing them is it's just a great way for me to show off my rack. Yes, when I do stand-up and when I do the Melissa J. Show, I'm wearing baggy clothes. And when I did the sound check and the lighting, kind of like a dress rehearsal before I started filming, I was watching it and I was just realizing what a great set of tits I have and how I never really get to show them off. And so that's one thing that I can do with these episodes. And I figured at least if they were a complete waste of time, then at least people could just look at the tits. And hopefully it would be a worthwhile experience. But yes, the guy pulled out his penis at the tire shop. What happened was I had gotten there late. The place closed at 6 o'clock and I pulled in right before 6. And I was very flustered. I was very flabbergasted. I needed to get the tire changed. I had things to do that evening. And when I pulled up, there was this gentleman standing there. And I asked him if they were still open. And he said he didn't know. And then I realized that he had nothing to do with the tire shop. And I ran inside. And luckily, one of the employees said that even though they were about to close, that they would get the tire taken care of. And I would be on my way. And so I went into their little waiting area that they had while they were changing the tires. And the gentleman who I initially had asked if they were open was standing there. And I just made some small talk. I just said, I'm really glad that, I was really worried that I wasn't going to be able to get my tire changed. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, I bet a nice cock would really help you out right now. And I remember looking at him, except he kind of mumbled the dirty part. He just wasn't quite so certain when he said it. And I remember looking at him and I said, "What did you just say to me?" And he mumbled the statement even lower and it was even less enunciated. And I asked him one more time, I said, "What did you just say to me?" And he looks at me and said, "Oh, I bet a nice tire would really help you out right now." And that's not a thing that people say. It's quite obvious if I'm at the tire shop, obviously a tire is going to help me out. You don't need to state the obvious like that. And I just didn't know what to make of him, and so I pretended to, be lost in my phone. I pretended that I had all these things to do with my phone. I had messages to check, and comments to reply to on Instagram when I didn't have any messages to check and no one had been commenting on any of my posts. But nonetheless, I just, got lost in my phone, and then I started putting on makeup, and which is something I enjoy doing very much. That's the thing as a transgender, is that you've gone through your entire life. It's been a journey to be the person that you are now at this point once you've transitioned. And it's just so mystifying to, just look at yourself in the mirror and see the person that you've become. And I was just basking in that experience, which is a very common experience among transgenders. You spend a lot of time looking in the mirror. And then I was putting on lipstick, which to me, anyone who wears lipstick understands that's just one of the simple pleasures in life. It's just one of the most beautiful things you can do. And I had finished putting on my lipstick, and I closed the compact mirror. And at that point, the gentleman had drifted off, and there was a row of hedges, like shrubs, that were kind of separating the waiting area from the sidewalk. And this gentleman had drifted over there, and when I looked up from putting on lipstick, I saw that at that point, his erect penis was in his hand. He was standing there so none of the employees could see him, and he was just stroking. He had one of the biggest penises I think I've ever seen, and he was just stroking this massive schlong with this perpetual motion just going back and forth. And he kept looking at me like with these puppy dog eyes, like he was looking down at his penis and then just staring longingly at me like, you gotta help me with this thing, like, you please, like I'm dying over here. You gotta help me in this effort to pleasure myself. It's just not working with my own hand. And I remember just looking at the size of that penis and thinking to myself, like, where the hell am I gonna fit that thing? Like it wasn't just a big penis. It was almost like as big as I was. And I pictured, like, if, first of all, like, I don't date men. I only date women. I would love to be able to date men. I'd love to have some, like, rich gay man paying my bills and taking care of me. I'm a struggling artist. My car is constantly in a state of disrepair. I struggle with meals and paying bills. And I would love to just be the kind of person who would be like, all right, let's just do it at the tire shop. You're behind the shrubs, your pants are down, let's get it on. And so part of me was just thinking, gosh, I really wish that, I were that way. That would be kind of fun. I'm waiting for my tire to get changed, and that would just be a great way to pass the time. Why not have sex with this man? And I just remember thinking to myself, even if I were that kind of person, like, I like to help out. I like to assist when somebody needs something. I would just like to do them a favor and, like, all right, let's get it on. But even if I were that kind of person, I just remember thinking to myself, like, where in the hell am I going to fit that thing? It would be like in the cartoons when like one of the characters eats something that's as big as they are, and like their entire torso will just expand to the shape of like whatever they happen to have swallowed. And I remember, oh, you're so cute. And I remember just picturing like my entire torso just stretching out like to be like the size of the shaft, and like my shoulders just ripping out to accommodate like the massive like bulbous head, and like my forearms would just be dangling off, like two little twigs just like clinging to an oak tree. And I just remember thinking, like, I can't even begin to tell you like the ways that like this just isn't going to happen. But that's the thing with being transgender, is just that everything you do becomes sexualized. I used to go through life. Before I transitioned, I was just a, blonde-haired, blue-eyed man, and I used to be able to just go to the tire shop and get my tire changed. And then I transitioned, and it was as though like the entire world turned into a big nightclub with all these just bloodthirsty men that were just so horny and just saw me as like this nymphomaniac that I'm just gonna like drop my pants and spread my legs in the waiting area of the tire shop on Van Noen in North Hollywood, which if any of you have ever been to the greater Los Angeles area, it's just not a very romantic part of the city. It's just not a place that, when you want love, you want romance, you want seduction, you want scenery, and Van Noen in North Hollywood, that's just not the place for it, let alone in the waiting area of a tire shop. But that's just how it is when you're a transgender. Everything you do just becomes sexualized. That's how everybody sees you, is just as this sex object. You're like some nymphomaniac that everywhere you go, it's like, hey girl, let's get it on. Why don't you just blow me next to the shrubs in the waiting area? And I remember when I got my keys and I was driving off, I remember just having this revelation that's just kind of how it is for females. That's just how it is. Like when you're a woman, everything you do gets sexualized. Lord help you if you're an attractive woman trying to eat a foot-long hot dog, without getting heckled, or, eating a banana, or just doing anything like that, or even just working in an office. People are going to grab your ass and talk about your breasts. And that's when I realized that, that's how it is for transgenders, but that's also just how it is for females. And my entire life, it's just been like one big struggle. I want to be recognized as a female more than anything. I want to be able to use the women's room and, the female pronouns, the she and the her. And it means so much to me. It's why I get out of bed every day. It's why I do the show, why I do stand-up, is I just want to make the world a better place for transgenders. And I want people just to see me as a female. And as I was driving off, that's what had happened to me at that tire shop. That gentleman just saw me as a female, and he was ready to certainly treat me like one behind the bushes. And that's when I realized that sometimes you got to be careful what you wish for.